The shovel clanged against stone, again. Ezekiel Thornfield wiped the sweat from his brow, glaring at the shallow grave behind his cabin. 6 feet long, 3 wide. Just enough space for a man with nothing left to live for. The Texas sun scorched the dry earth as he dug since first light. His plan was simple. Finish the hole by noon, scribble a note for the bank, then use his father's revolver to end 37 years of pain. No one would miss him. His cattle were gone, killed by drought. His land was next, threatened by foreclosure. And his wife? She'd died 2 winters back, taking their unborn child with her. What was left for a man who'd lost everything? Another shovelful of dirt flew. Each strike felt like a step closer to silence. Then a sound. Out of place. Fragile. Human. A woman's voice, weak and trembling, drifted from near his gate. Ezekiel dropped the shovel, snatched his rifle, and moved fast. Land grabbers had been circling his property like buzzards. He'd refused every offer, but desperate men got creative. Rounding the cabin, he froze. She was slumped against his gate, barely more than a girl, maybe 19. Her dress was torn, her dark hair tangled with dust, but it was her belly that stopped his breath. Swollen, heavy with child. Blood stained her hem. Her face was ghost-pale, lips moving soundlessly. One hand clutched her stomach like it held the last thing worth saving. This wasn't a trap. This was a life slipping away. And she'd crawled to the one man who'd just been digging his own grave. For a heartbeat, Ezekiel stood still, torn between walking away and stepping back into the world. Then he dropped his rifle and ran. She was lighter than he expected. As he lifted her, her eyes fluttered open, startlingly blue, and locked onto his. "Please," she whispered, voice thin as wind through dry grass. "Don't let my baby die." The words gutted him. While he'd been preparing to leave this world, she was fighting to bring someone new into it. Inside the cabin, he laid her on his bed. The same bed where he'd planned to write his final words. He fetched water, clean rags from his late wife's sewing box, and tried to steady his shaking hands. She was burning with fever, and the dark stains on her dress. Not just sweat, then he saw them. Rope burns on her wrist. Bruises shaped like fingers on her arms. Someone had bound her, hurt her, and she'd escaped. Before he could process it, her hand shot out and gripped his wrist. "They're coming," she gasped. "They said they'd find me, no matter where I ran." Ezekiel's blood turned cold. He scanned the horizon through the window. Empty land, no cover, no escape. His isolation, once a comfort for dying alone, now made them both vulnerable. "My name is Celeste," she said, pushing herself up with grit. "My father sold me to Virgil Blackwood to pay his debts." Ezekiel knew that name. Everyone did. Blackwood owned water rights across 3 counties, bought sheriffs, buried rumors and maybe people on his land. "I was locked in his house for months," Celeste went on, voice sharpening with fury. "He said the baby was his property, that he'd raise it to be just like him. She'd gone into early labor and ran, stole a horse, rode until it collapsed, then walked the rest. That's why she'd come here. His ranch was the farthest edge of nowhere, a last hope. But men like Blackwood didn't let go of what they claimed. A sharp cry tore from her throat. She doubled over. Water soaked the blankets. The baby was coming whether they were ready or not, and Ezekiel realized he was about to become responsible for 2 lives instead of ending one. He helped her lie back, scrambling to recall what his wife had once told him about childbirth. But this was wrong. Too much blood. Her skin was turning ashen, her breath shallow and uneven. She was fading fast. Then, hoofbeats, hard, fast, closing in. He snatched his rifle and peered out. 6 riders charging over the ridge, moving like soldiers. And at their lead, tall, silver-haired, eyes like ice, was Virgil Blackwood himself. Ezekiel's stomach dropped. This wasn't a search party. It was a retrieval mission. He turned back to Celeste just as another contraction racked her body. She cried out, gripping the sheets. Blood followed. Outside, boots crunched on dry earth. Voices barked orders. They were surrounding the cabin. Celeste's eyes fluttered open, filled with terror, but also fierce resolve. "He'll take the baby," she gasped. Raise it to be like him. A monster. In that moment, something shifted inside Ezekiel. For months, he'd drowned in his own grief. But this girl, sold, beaten, hunted, was still fighting for someone else's future. "I promise you," he said, voice rough but certain, "your child will be free." A gunshot shattered the front window. Glass exploded inward. Celeste screamed, not from fear, but from labor tearing through her. Ezekiel fired back, dropping one rider. But as he reloaded, he glanced at the bed and froze. The baby's head was crowning, Celeste's eyes rolled back. Her body kept pushing, but her spirit was slipping away. More bullets punched through the walls. Smoke curled from the splintered logs. He was trapped. Stay and deliver the baby while they stormed the door, or fight and let both die unattended. Then, a sound. Tiny. Fragile. Defiant. A newborn's cry pierced the gunfire. The baby was alive, but Celeste lay still. No movement, no sound. Only the faintest rise of her chest. Ezekiel's throat tightened. She'd given everything, her last breath, for this child. Outside, Blackwood's voice cut through the chaos, calm and cruel. I smell smoke, Thornfield. Flames clawed up the cabin walls. Smoke choked the air. Blackwood's men were burning him out. And Ezekiel had minutes to live. But first, he had a miracle to protect. The baby, small, red-faced, furious, cried with raw, stubborn life. He wiped her face with a corner of his shirt and wrapped her tight. As he lifted her, he saw it, a girl, just like her mother. Celeste's eyes fluttered open one last time. Her gaze locked onto her daughter, clear and calm despite the pain. Rose, she whispered. Her name is Rose. Then she was gone. Ezekiel's chest ached. This woman had run, fought, bled, and died for this child. And now her body would burn in the home of the man who destroyed her. Baby Rose wailed, sensing the danger. The heat climbed. The roof groaned. He checked his ammo, 3 rifle rounds, 2 in his pistol. Not enough to win a fight, but maybe enough to buy Rose a future. Then he remembered the root cellar, a hidden exit behind the cabin, concealed by an old water barrel. His only chance, but leaving Celeste's body in the flames felt like betrayal. As if answering him, Rose opened her eyes, those same blue eyes, and stared right at him. Not helpless, strong, just like her mother. He kissed Celeste's forehead. I'll keep her safe, he vowed. He turned toward the back, just as Blackwood's voice cut through the smoke. Don't worry, my dear, the silver-haired man called from the porch, voice dripping with false tenderness. Papa's here. We'll go home and raise my heir properly. He thought Celeste was still alive. Ezekiel froze. Then a plan formed. Risky, brutal, but necessary. He pressed Rose close to silence her cries and hid behind the door. Blackwood stepped inside, boots echoing on charred wood. Celeste, darling, he cooed. This rebellion ends now. Where's my baby? He spotted her body on the bed and snarled. Stupid girl. You'd rather die than be mine? His eyes flashed. But if my child's dead, I'll burn every ranch in Texas to find who helped you. That's when Ezekiel stepped out, rifle aimed at Blackwood's chest. The man spun, hand flying to his gun, then stopped dead at the sight of the baby in Ezekiel's arms. Your child is safe, Ezekiel said, voice low and steady. But she's not your property. She's free. Blackwood's eyes narrowed, not with love, but calculation. Give me the girl, he hissed, and I'll let you walk. Keep her, and I'll make your death last days. Ezekiel didn't flinch. He thought of his promise, of the half-dug grave behind the cabin, the end of one life, the start of another. The only one walking away, he said, is her. Blackwood went for his gun. The roof beam above them cracked, then collapsed in a shower of fire and timber, slamming between them like divine judgment. Through the smoke, Ezekiel heard Blackwood curse and bolt for the door. He didn't follow. He ran for the root cellar, Rose screaming against his chest as the cabin collapsed behind him. Outside, chaos reigned. Blackwood barked orders to regroup. But then Ezekiel saw something impossible. 3 of Blackwood's men lay unconscious. A 4th was hogtied with his own rope, and standing over them, cigarette in hand, hat tipped low, was Deputy Marshal Kate Sullivan, the one lawman in the territory who couldn't be bought, bribed, or broken. Afternoon, Ezekiel, she said, tipping her hat with a faint smile. Heard there might be trouble out this way. She'd been hunting Blackwood for 3 months, tracking missing women, forged deeds, and silenced witnesses across 2 territories. When she saw the smoke rising from his ranch, she knew her chase was over. What she hadn't expected? To find a broken man ready to die for a baby who wasn't even his. Celeste got word to me before she ran, Kate explained as they moved away from the burning ruins. Left a note with a kitchen maid who slipped it to my contact. I've been riding non-stop for 2 days. Behind them, the cabin collapsed in a roar of flame and ash. Blackwood stumbled out, clothes scorched, silver hair wild, but his eyes still burned with cold fury. Then he spotted Kate's badge. His rage melted into calculation. Marshal Sullivan, he said smoothly, brushing soot from his coat. Perfect timing. This man kidnapped my legally adopted daughter and her child. I have the papers right here. Kate didn't even look at them. Those papers were signed by a desperate man drowning in your debt. I've got 3 witnesses, including the girl who just died in that fire trying to escape you." For a split second, Blackwood's mask cracked. "You can't prove anything. My word against a dead girl's." "Don't need her word," Kate shot back. "You just admitted she was running from you. That's kidnapping, false imprisonment, and now, murder." Fear flickered in Blackwood's eyes. The man who bought sheriffs and buried secrets was finally cornered. He went for his gun. Kate fired first. 1 shot, center mass. Blackwood dropped, his reign ending in the dust of a forgotten ranch. As he died, his gaze fell on baby Rose. For a heartbeat, something like regret crossed his face. Then the light left his eyes for good. Silence fell. Rose stopped crying. She opened her blue eyes and looked up at the 3 adults now standing between her and a cruel world. Kate smiled softly at the child, then turned to Ezekiel. "So what now? This little one needs a home, and last I heard you were done with this world." Ezekiel looked down at Rose. Just hours ago, he'd been digging his own grave. Now he held a second chance. "That hole behind the cabin?" he said quietly. "I'll finish it, but not for me. Celeste deserves a proper resting place. Somewhere peaceful. Somewhere her daughter can visit one day." Kate nodded. Ezekiel glanced at his dry fields, his weathered barn, his empty future. 6 hours ago it all felt worthless. Now, it looked like the perfect place to raise a girl who'd grow up knowing freedom is worth fighting for. Kindness shows up when you least expect it, and even in the darkest hour, new life can begin. He shifted Rose in his arms as she yawned and nestled against his chest. "After the burial," he said, "we start building a life worth living." The sun dipped below the Texas hills, painting the sky in gold and fire. Somewhere out there, other stories were unfolding, other choices between hope and surrender. But here, in this moment, a broken man found purpose. An innocent child found safety, and justice at last caught up with evil. As Kate helped him pack supplies for the ride to town, where Rose would get care, and he'd begin the long road to adoption, Ezekiel realized something profound. The same shovel he'd used to dig what he thought was his grave had instead helped him bury his past and unearth a future worth fighting for. A future with a daughter who'd never know the man who tried to own her, but would always know the man who chose to save her.